Hey guys, welcome back to the live stream today. We are talking about powder coating your factory wheels. So let's go ahead and bring up a little slide here to show you what we're going to be talking about. So powder coating your factory wheels. So the van behind me, we just got the wheels powder coated. If you guys have been following along in the channel, I put some pictures up, kind of showed you what I used to lift the van up in a previous live stream. And then I went around and took a bunch of video that'll go into a video on the channel as a standalone video, kind of showing you guys how I did it. But today I wanted to kind of recap and tell you why I powder coated the wheels instead of just buying new rims. So first up, we'll go over these things during this live stream. The cost, a couple of features of why I did it. And then on the right-hand side, we're going to go over some details, such as, what size of rim are on the Ford Transits. This is a 2020 all-wheel drive Ford Transit, so a little bit different features as far as wheels go. We'll talk about offsets, which are really important to understand. Then we'll also talk about wheel torque, wheel lug torque, as far as actually putting a torque wrench on there, make sure everything's safe before you lower the vehicle back down, get ready to drive it. So first up over here, why? So I did it because two things. One, it was lower cost. You're reusing rims that you've already bought. And then it's a factory fit. So when I was working on Thomas's van, he decided to get Method rims for his van. They look really cool. But they have more of a staggered stance. So when he went to turn his wheel, it was cutting into his fender. And that's pretty typical. Anybody that does, off-roading or full drive type of thing, they're cutting out their fenders all the time to make sure that they can fit bigger tires, have more clearance. But it gets to a point to where you can't, there's only so much you can cut out of that pinch weld, and where it gets unsafe. So maybe you can cut out maybe half an inch or something like that, but there's a point to where you are limited on how much you can cut out on the vehicle side, and then you're limited on the size of tire that you can upgrade to. So the max tire that you can put on there. And typically when you're lifting a vehicle, you're trying to squeeze in the biggest tire anyway. So you're going to have to do all those things to get as much tire in there and space. So if you want to forego all of that and not have to deal with that, what you can do is just use the rims that are on your van and take them to a local rim repair shop or someplace that actually will unmount them and paint them. And that way you are retaining a bunch of stuff, such as, we'll come back up here in price in a second, but you're maintaining the factory offset. So the wheels fit. You don't have to cut anything away to get the wheel to move. And then you're retaining the factory weight rating. And so let me back up a little bit. So if you find somebody locally, what's nice is the price is going to be much cheaper than buying new rims, like I said earlier. Also, those by doing it locally, that shop can actually paint the rims typically, and they can unmount your tires and then remount the new tires. So why this was important to me is if you're paying a company to paint the rims, if they put the tires on, they're going to make sure that they do not scratch up the work they just did. So that was kind of my that's what I would look forward to when I worked with this local company. They did a fantastic job. You guys can see in the lower right-hand section. Actually, I'll pull up a better picture here. Let me find a better one. There we go. So you can see, we're going to zoom in really close on here. And they did a fantastic job. We're going to talk about painting, so using automotive paint versus powder coating. There was one comment earlier yesterday talking about, what was the reason that I powder coated versus just painting the wheel. It seemed kind of odd, so we'll talk about that too. But the powder coat is a baked on finish. It's very resilient. And the reason we got it powder coated is I needed the wheels back quickly. So I couldn't wait to have, usually when you do automotive paint, there's a day or so that it needs to be, it needs to harden essentially. And it's soft. So it'll maybe nick, scratch, that type of thing. And if you're handling the wheel, that's not a good thing to happen. Plus, if they said they painted the wheel, they just did the face of the wheel for the paint. But if you did the powder coat option, they'll fully unmount the tire and paint the whole entire rim. So in the video you guys will see next week, the whole entire rim is painted, both inside and out. And then what I also did was this little beauty ring or outside plastic cap. It was painted, and this was painted with automotive paint. And what was nice is by doing the gloss, we were able to match the colors. If we'd used matte black, it would have. They weren't sure that it would match really well, so that was one of the reasons. And then for the lug nuts, these are not factory lug nuts. These are from Flarespace, out of all companies, which is pretty cool. I combed the whole entire internet, and they were the only ones available that were for the all-wheel drive Ford Transit, because the wheel stud sticks out really long. So you have to have a special nut that's designed to cover the whole thing. It's essentially for aesthetics. It doesn't do anything fancy. It just looks nicer. But by doing this, we saved some money, and I think it was really good for you as a DIYer if you're really on a budget and every $500 to $1,000 helps. This is a place where you can recoup that cost, but still get an upgrade on your van. So if we come over here and we we look at the slideshow again. So the lower cost here, powder coating, $875 was their base price. And if they have to do valve stems or anything like that, it goes up a little bit higher, but it's $875 for 5 wheels. And that is with my local company here in Hickory, and that's a fantastic deal. That's 5 rims, unmounted, completely powder coated, and then mounting the new BFG KO2s. If you were to get new wheels, remember in this scenario, we have to get 5 new rims because we're doing the 4 around the van. We're upsizing the tire size. So for safety reasons, we cannot use the smaller spare tire. And then we're going to be mounting that 5th tire that actually, when we put the new KO2s on it, it will not fit up underneath the van anymore. So you have to get a rear tire rack carrier system. Once you get the tire rack carrier system, you're going to want the wheel to look really nice. You're going to want it to match the rest of your wheels, so you might as well paint it and get the same one. However, if you go with new wheels, you're looking at, just for the rims, $1,368.50 for 5. I think these are the Method wheels. And then $1927.50 was 5 of the Owl Vans, their new wheels. Now, you might say, well, that's not that big of a difference. Okay, remember the factory fit we were talking about earlier? This is where it comes into play. So if we go to, let's just hop on over to, let's see. I want you guys to remember, let's see here, this 90 millimeter offset. So remember that. We're going to go over here to this one. So I love these wheels. This is Owl Talon Transit all-wheel drive wheels. So it's a new rim that they've designed for the all-wheel drive Ford Transit. And the all-wheel drive Ford Transit is interesting. The rims are essentially dually rims. So they're made funny because the all-wheel drive, the way that the rear axle on these vans is, it's I believe the rear axle is a standard axle that can accommodate both dually wheels and then single wheels. So it has a spacer on the rear, and then on the front you have this hub sticking out on the front. So in order for Ford to be able to use the same wheels all the way around the whole entire van, with this hub sticking out, and then they have like a some type of factory spacer if you don't have the dually. In order to do that, you're having to have a weird offset, and that 90 millimeters is what is happening. Let me grab my notes real quick. So really quickly, the higher the offset number, so this 90, the higher this number from 0, the rim is going to go further into the van. So if we go to wheel, if I can spell, we go to wheel offsets, and we go to images. Here we go. I like this as the example. So if you look over here to your right, as the number, so let's start at negative 24. So anything below 0 or moving negative is going to, the wheel is going to be sticking more outside of the vehicle. So if you go from negative 24 and you come into, you're going to go past 0. So imagine you're going like negative 24, 20, 15, 10, 5, 0. And then now we're plus 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So negative 24 past 0, which would be the middle. So that would be a 0 offset right there. And if I'm losing you guys, just ask me questions in the chat. But as we go from 24 past 0 and then go in the plus range to 12, just as this example shows, the tire is moving from the outside to the inside of the vehicle. And as we increase plus 44, we're going further inside. So with that understood, if we go back to our number here, the factory is 90 millimeters. So that wheel is in pretty good. So if you look at this right here, see how positive this is? So where the hub touches, it's really far to the right. Whereas if you have a negative offset, the hub is really far to the left. So it's more inside, the rim goes outside. If the offset is positive, the rim goes inside. Okay, so you can see that a 90 millimeter offset is going to make the rim go inside the vehicle, or more inside. So that's your starting point. Now, the challenge with the Ford Transit is if you're going to look for rims, the selection is very limited. These rims look really nice. However, if you come down, just understand that, so these are actually the closest that I found. There's some on Tire Rack, but these are the closest looks-wise, something that I would enjoy putting on a van. So there's no affiliation with this company. Just giving you guys some good information. But the offset here is 80. So it's only 10 millimeters away from 90. So this is pretty much going to give you the same closest offset to factory. Now remember, there's other detail. So the rim width is 6.5 inches. So if we go back over here, let's see if I can zoom in. Okay, we zoom in. Okay. So if we have 80, that's not that bad. I'm pretty happy with that. But now instead of 6.5 inches, this rim is 8 inches wide. And instead of 16 inches in diameter, it's 17. So what you've done is even though your offset is pretty close, what you're doing is you've widened your wheel, which is going to make it more likely to touch. And then you've increased the diameter, which is also going to make it more likely to touch. So it's kind of this game of finding out the offset that works versus the rim width versus the diameter. Because if you have a perfect offset, but you've increased your rim size and your rim width, you've essentially changed that number anyway. I mean, again, if that makes sense. This might be complicated, so again, put your questions in the comments. Happy to answer them. But we got close on offset, but the rim width is a little bit bigger, so it's going to make it challenging for us to find a tire size that when we put it on there, we know it won't rub the fender or need modification. It's not that you can't get this rim. You just have to be aware that when you buy it, when you buy the tire that goes on the rim, that is where you're going to have to control the measurements. Next, we're going to go to tire rack. I'm not sure if this link is going to work. Look at that. It actually did. So we're going to go to tire rack, and we're going to look at these method wheels. So check this out. So this method wheel looks pretty promising. It's 90 millimeter offset. That's good. And then it has the factory diameter. So we've got our 16 by 6.5. And this right here is a pretty good value. It was not on sale when I last looked at it, so it was $322. But now it's a little bit cheaper. So you can see here they do a set of 4. Remember, we need 5. So we got $13.86. So it cost us about $875. But if you did want to get the cheapest rim that you can buy with factory offsets would be this one, and that would be $13.86. So that's kind of what you're looking at for entry level. But I wouldn't say these are entry level rims. I think these look great. Now here, I believe this is the one that Thomas got. And if you notice, see how we go from 90? And then we got the Sequoia, and that one is 60 millimeters offset. So now that rim is going to stick out 30 more millimeters than the factory offset. And so that is where the challenge came in, to where the fender had to be modified in order to fit the tires, or allow the tires to move freely on his van. And then where this is where your selection is limited. So I showed you the Alvan wheels, which I love. And then I showed you the method wheels. They look pretty good. But if you go, the only other option that you have are these Ultra wheels. And I know they're not that good of a looking rim. Some people may disagree. They might like it. But I think this rim, is too kind of chunky. And it's close. It's 84 millimeter offset, but it does have the factory diameter. But again, look at this. To do 5, now you're looking at 1853. So it's getting up there. Okay, so if we go to our next one, go to Discount Tire, you'll see that when I looked up Ford Transit rims, if I go down to 350 all-wheel drive, and there looks saying that, 235, 65, 16, that is the factory rim. So if we click OK, it says, let's see here, view wheels. It says your search did not match any products. So again, limited selection. Then last but not least, we actually have the Method Wheels website. And they do have one more version, which is this one. This is not on the tire rack. But it doesn't look too bad. And I believe the offset, I think this is the one I could not find the offset to it. So it'll be this style, this one that kind of bumps out. So as far as combing the internet, those are about the only options I saw for the Ford Transit. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and said, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take them up on this $875 offer, get them powder coated, and see what it looks like. And I'm very happy with it. You guys can see the van. I think it looks excellent. What we had before was just the factory silver rims. Nothing too exciting. And then the last thing here, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to hop on over to the comments. There was one question that said powder coated versus painted, and what was the why did you go with powder coat? So the reason that I went with powder coat rims is that, I think I said this earlier at the beginning of the stream, the powder coated rims, once you bake on the finish, then it's on there. It's not going to really nick or scratch too bad as soon as you take it out. So you can handle it. The handling time is quicker. Whereas if you paint it, the paint's kind of soft. It might take a day or two for it to actually cure. And I needed these mounted and balanced. I had to take them down the road, get them mounted and balanced, because the place that painted them, they actually, because they're that dually style. So right here, this center board, about 5.5 inches. That's that inside. There you go. This center board. It was too big. So when they put it on their balancing machine, they didn't have the chuck to actually hold it. So I had to go to a truck tire place to get that done. And I got the inside stick-on weight so that the paint would get messed up, but it's nice. You don't have those little silver weights sticking on the outside of your wheel. So if you don't want those on your car anyway, just ask them to put the stick-on weights, and they'll stick them on the inside of their rim when they balance it. But the powder coating was quick, and it probably took 3 days for them to do everything and get it back to me. And then the caps, so I think I showed you guys this earlier. So the caps here, they painted them with an automotive paint. And everything looks really good. But I wanted to pull up the question that was asked in the comments, and it was concerning, let's see here, what was it? So essentially what's the point of powder coating steel rims? So let's see here. So this is just really quick on Google. Is it okay to powder coat steel wheels? So powder coating, you can put it on, steel, stainless steel, as well as aluminum. Powder coat wheels, better coverage than liquid paints. So when I was doing my research, if you paint the rim, sometimes the paint, when you spray it, it actually doesn't get down into the crevices. And with the powder, you can kind of find those and get into it. And there's like this machined lip on the inside of the rim. And I looked at it to see if it was going to be coated with paint. And it was all the way down in there. I couldn't even tell a difference. And just a couple other things. How long does the powder coat last on steel? Up to 20 years, which is pretty amazing. And obviously that depends on, what kind of powder coating job you did or who you took it to. As far as the disadvantages go, what I found was the disadvantages are more on the side of the person starting up the business. As far as the consumer with the product, they're pretty much all advantages to powder coating versus painted. So the cons will be, startup cost. It is difficult to do thin coats when you powder coat because the powder it's sprayed on there. And then I think the other thing I read was it's hard to do touch-ups. So it's kind of like a one and done. So you put the powder on, you bake it, and then that's pretty much the finish you got. And then, lastly, you need an oven to bake it in. So I know some people are DIYers at home. I'm not saying you would DIY your own rims and powder coat them at home. I'm sure you could, but you need a pretty large oven to do that. But I just want to go over a couple pros and cons to help out with that comment. And we're getting close to the end of the stream, so I wanted to invite you guys over to vanbuilderhq.com. And I wanted to show you guys the DIY Van Build cheat sheet. So this cheat sheet is essentially 3 years of all of my Amazon orders in which I needed parts for the van quickly. And I put this list together to help me find the stuff that I use all the time. So if you guys can imagine building a van, there's a lot of fuses that I use all the time. There's electrical wire. I typically use the same solar panel, like the Renogy 100-watt solar panels, or like the 175. And if you go through your Amazon history, it's kind of hard to go to the past month, and then search it. So I just took all those and I put them in one Excel sheet. Then as I was going through it and referencing it, I said, you know what, this would be perfect if you guys were able to just access this and look at all the components. So what I've done is I've broken down the whole entire sheet. And when you go here and you click on download the free sheet, fill out your name and email address, you're going to get this form. So it's just a simple Excel form, and it's organized with all these categories. So if you're looking for anything electrical, you just hop on over here, and you can take this and put filters on it, organize it how you like. But electrical, you have cables, wires, mega fuses, stuff like that. If you scroll on down, fasteners. So essentially the fasteners area, this is all the 80/20 stainless components that I needed to buy off of Amazon when I needed different sizes. So as I kind of come up upon a challenge, I'm in the van and I needed something quick, I'll hop on here, find my link, and I'll put it on there. And then as far as roofing, for example, a lot of this stuff took a long time to find. So what's cool is when you get this sheet, you're saving that time having to do the research and go online and try to search for all this stuff. But also this sheet is stuff that I've used. So you know that this is something that I've bought and I put on the van, and I've actually utilized it. If you guys have any questions on solar components, there's a list here with all the Amazon links. But the number one feature of this list is the tools. So the tools on this list, I've used every single one of these. And if I could go back in time and have one list that was organized and I could just say, okay, can I just buy all those to start? It'd be this tool list. The cool thing is, it's not bad. This stuff is all from Amazon, so it's not incredibly expensive, but it's going to help you save time during your build. The RivNut tool, I've used that to install the Fischerwagen components. The pneumatic RivNut drill adapter, so that's the powered RivNut tool. And then all kinds of other stuff. We got the Milwaukee ProPEX expansion toolkit. That is the stuff that I've used to cut and crimp all the ProPEX or the PEX A in the vans. And then we've got hole saws and all that stuff. So I think this would be really helpful for you guys if you're just getting started as a DIYer, or you know what, I even use this list on a daily basis. So hop on over to vanbuilderhq.com, fill out your name and email address, and this list is going to come right to your inbox. And I think it'll really help you out. All right, last but not least, let's talk about Odyssey Custom Vans. So Odyssey is my professional van building business. So you guys have seen this website before. But if you're interested in a professional van build, head on over to odysseycustomvans.com, click on contact, fill out the information. And in the message box, tell me your story. Why are you getting into the van life? Are you wanting to go across the country? Are you just looking to do weekend trips? So tell me what you're looking forward to. I'd love to hop on a consultation, answer any questions you have, and help you with your van build journey. All right, guys, I'm going to check the comments really quick to see if we have any questions before I head out. We've got two things that are coming up, so I'm going to pick up one of the boxes. If you guys are going to ask any questions, ask them now. I'm going to get off the stream in about 2 minutes. All right. So in this box, we have the Agile Off-Road 16-gallon undermount gray water tank. So it came in, so expect that in a future video. And then if you guys were looking at any of the live streams, you might have seen that the front of the van had a couple of scratches on the front bumper. So I've actually got a replacement bumper for this. So this is going to have a brand new bumper. And then as we put the brand new bumper on, we're also going to put the Raptor style Ford grille. And so that's going to replace the grille up front. So those are the next two things coming up. We do have a shipment coming in for some kitchen galley components. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Remember, if you have any questions, put those in the comments below. Love to look at those and see if any of those questions could be great for future live streams. But until then, we'll see you guys in the next live stream.